Hi everyone, this is Rabbi Yonatan with a short weekly Torah insight from our weekly portion, our Parashat Toldot. This is the beginning of the story of two very important biblical characters, Jacob and Esau, Yaakov and Esav. And we read in the beginning of this parsha that they were twins. And it was a very difficult birth for their mother, Rebecca, because they were twins and they struggled in coming out. And in fact, Yaakov is in some sense called Yaakov because he came out second, the second of the two twins, holding the akev, the heel of his brother Esav. But what about the name Esav? How can we understand this name? What does it mean? Well, one interesting interpretation comes from an interpreter called the Kli Yakar, whose name is Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim ben Aharon, 1550 to 1619, who ultimately ends up in Prague. And he has a very interesting interpretation named Esav. He says it means asui, that they gave him this name because he was fully developed, asui, when he was born. He had all of his hair. We read he was very hairy. And this is a sign and tells us something about him, and also something that distinguishes him from his brother Yaakov. He was hairy, he was fully developed, and he had everything he needed for all of his physical faculties and senses, for physical pursuit, for hunting, and for being able to have food and drink, and all of his other necessary bodily functions would be cared for. He had everything, all the tools he needed for that. Whereas Yaakov was not born fully developed. And in this, the Kli Yakar says, we're talking about intellectual and spiritual development, which happens at a later age. It says when a person is born, they are sort of like a wild donkey. They're not yet fully developed spiritually and intellectually, and it's really only later in life that we become this way. And it says that Yaakov did spiritually and intellectually develop, and he was very interested in the intellectual and spiritual pursuits. And so in the end, this Kli Yakar says that Esav was born, formed and complete at birth, and nothing could ever be added. But Yaakov was different, and the spiritual and the intellectual attributes he acquired grew with him all of his life. And so too, Esav sometimes gets a bad rap, and we don't want to do that, but it's a beautiful interpretation telling us all that the more we grow each and every day, the more we learn, and the more we pay attention to our spiritual lives, the more that we'll be alive and we'll be growing and fully alive in each and every day. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.